welcome to the 250, the podcast where we eat my shit. I'm Douglas, and with me as always is my co-host Jonathan. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Douglas?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a nice, lovely sunny day outside.
It's a life Saturday.
And,
Lice?
It's a life Saturday. Lice. And what a lovely day to be quarantined.
What a lovely day to be quarantined.
If this is your first time tuning into the 250, we have taken a snapshot of IMDb's top 250 movies of all time as of January 2020 and have begun watching them from number 250 through to number 1. In this podcast, we discuss our opinions, thoughts, and reactions to the movies within. Today's movie, number 239, The Help.
Jackson, Mississippi, 1962. The Help is the belittling term given to the African-American maids who tend to wealthy white families' houses and raise their children. Aibileen Clark, a maid who has recently lost her son, and Minnie Jackson, whose no-nonsense attitude means she can't keep a job for long, meet an energetic Eugenia Skeeter who hopes to bring the story of their struggles to the masses.
Directed by Tate Taylor and also written by Tate Taylor, with the original novel done by Catherine Stockett. What do you think of this movie, Jonathan?
It was good. Why do we keep falling into these films that are like political, social landmarks?
Above our pay grade.
Yeah.
Intellectual pay grade.
I do have some things to say, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be overstepping. I think if you look at it from the most macro view, I think it's a pretty positive kind of concept to make people more aware of this and to do it in a accessible fashion. You know, the fact that it's a comedy means that you're not bringing people in with some kind of depressing story and going like, look how bad things were, and that's all we have to say. That's they spice it up, and it means that you can kind of you can appreciate it regardless. And I think a lot of people will go into it for the comedy, and then I guess it is very upfront about the story it's trying to tell. So I don't think you're gonna get someone who comes into it not really having some semblance of an idea of what they're getting into. But I liked it, and the film was good. It was very enjoyable. It was potentially a little too long, and I think that's probably partly due to it being based on a book.
Yeah, I think that's curse of adaptation, perhaps.
Yeah. And it's kind of just, I guess we'll talk about it a bit more later, but you kind of get a vibe from films that are written after books in the whole kind of structure of it, basically, where films are generally more one track because there's 2 hours and they've got to get from point A to point B in their story, whereas a book has no real size limit to it, and that means that fucking anything could happen. You could have a film that is that super, simple, one major plot with maybe a couple of side plots, or you could go fucking everywhere with it. So you can definitely see that, but I think it. Yeah,
actually, now that you say that, I can see that for sure.
It's not a major issue. And, apparently they did trim a fair bit of stuff off of the film to begin with. So
thank God.
Sorry, off of the book when they put it into the film. So,
right.
Yeah. So I guess off the script, it got trimmed. Something like that.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah. If the writing got trimmed, then therefore the film got trimmed as well.
Yeah. How about you? I messaged you. I had a pretty good time with it. We have a very big a policy of no anything conversation before we record.
We try not to talk about our films prior to recording because we want everything here to be fresh.
Yeah, it could be interesting. So you don't want to go we've had an interesting conversation about this film off air. That would be fucking stupid. So I just sent a thumbs up to Douglas after I watched it, and I forget what you said, but you said something a bit more
scathing,
something like that. And then you talked to my fucking fiance about it, and I was just sitting there going I want to know what you fucking think, but I can't ask. Fuck.
Oh my God. I think I really do go back and forth with this movie. I have given it 3 stars on Letterboxd, which is the website where we collect all of our movies that we're watching and we review them as we go. I gave it 3 stars on there, and even that rating I'm not happy with, because the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, maybe I would go higher, but then maybe I would go lower. There's just so many things in this movie that either work and gel really perfectly, and then there are just other factors where I'm like, fucking okay. And I'm not sure whether that's an issue to do with acting, writing, or I'm very undecided on this one, and I kind of would like to have another rewatch of it. Maybe not, immediately, but I'd like some time to dwell on it a little bit more and then have another stab at it. Just to, maybe I'm in like a very pessimistic kind of mood at the moment. At the time we're recording, COVID-19 is in full swing.
We are. This is what day 5 of light quarantine, I think. So chances are, I don't know. When this gets around to airing, it might have been full fucking no one leaves their house quarantine. Who fucking knows? Or it might have blown over.
Jesus.
Fuck it.
There are currently 876 cases in Australia.
Today is the 21st of March. It's probably a fair while before. Way
to break the illusion.
Look. Given the circumstances, like you've already given us like, the quarantine just started. They already have
COVID-19
a general idea. Any more virus talk, and I will block you and delete you from all social media. Because I swear to fucking God, every piece of everything is just talking about the fucking virus.
It's everywhere. It's really hard to avoid it at the moment, and I think that's maybe affected my mood just a touch, if inadvertently. I feel a little bit more kind of pessimistic rather than my normal optimistic self. So maybe that's kind of rubbed off on how I viewed this film, because I thought it was kind of needlessly heartwarming. I think it was heartwarming, but for the sake, like, I don't think there could have been a way to portray it without it needing to be heartwarming, I think.
Okay.
And just for the subject matter that it tackles, like the civil rights movement and all of that, it kind of keeps all that stuff at arm's length. Like the factual events of the civil rights movement, it keeps all that shit like very, very far away and doesn't really want to touch it that much. It kind of keeps itself in its own little bubble with Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer, all of those lovely ladies. And their characters, but the actual factual events of the period, it touches on and it goes, oh yes, this happened. Oh, but look over here, we're doing stuff with our characters now, so we're not going to worry about that. That is happening, and we are there, but we're doing stuff over here, so let's not talk about that. So I don't know. That's just how I viewed it, and yeah, again, I feel incredibly indecisive about what I think about this film.
I'm just gonna note so we can talk about that later.
Yeah, go for
it. I should say that I didn't think it was like mind-blowingly good, but I had a smile on my face at the end of it, and I didn't look back at it going, that felt like a chore to watch. So
so did I.
It's not perfect, but it's a pretty good film. It's pretty good. And it seems enjoyable. It seems to be like a lot of the stuff that's why I said from a macro view, what the film aims to do is very good, and I think it like falls flat, and people have talked about this for hours and hours and hours, and I guess we'll talk about it a bit more. But yeah, it's kind of like, is it better to just mean well and maybe not do a perfect just like job of it, or should you always be aiming to put your fucking back out, making this thing that keeps everybody happy? It's weird. Anyway, we'll jump into spoilers. Would you recommend that someone watches this film, Douglas?
I definitely would. I think for me, I don't think this movie is for me, which is I think that's probably the most selfish thing I've said on this podcast. But
that's entirely
personally, personally, I just don't think that this movie is. I have watched this movie for the sake of the 250 because it is on the list, but given the opportunity, I probably would have dodged this film and not wanted to watch it. And but I would now, having watched it, I would now know the person that would enjoy this film.
Right.
And I would go, oh yeah, you could watch The Help because that is a movie you would love.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would recommend it. I think with all things like this, with like talking about social issues and stuff, I think you need to be thinking about it a lot. I guess just like take everything with an open mind. But I think yeah, it does a pretty good job. And I think if you didn't know about the situation, this is a nice way to learn about it.
yeah.
I got more thoughts, but I guess we'll put them up to the spoilers. Spoiler, air horn.
There it is. Oh God.
I think we'll bloody. I just want to push the whole social thing to the side.
Sure, go for it.
You said that you didn't like some of the actors, and that was actually I found that kind of interesting because that was the thing that I took away with it. I didn't have any particular issues with any of the acting, and I actually really enjoyed some of the characters and the way they were performed.
Really? Okay, well, it's not so much actresses, it's actress or actor. You know, it doesn't matter. It's a bloody boy or a girl. Bryce Dallas Howard.
You didn't like her performance?
No.
Really?
But I don't think that's a result of her acting. I think that's a result of her writing and her dealing with a very, very shallow, one-dimensional character.
Right. Yeah.
I found she was just needlessly cruel. Like, they never give... I would think in the book, and this might be, as I said earlier, adaptation curse, but she just seems so, like... There's never any backstory for why she is so cruel and why she is so racist. Right. I'm assuming it's just because she lives like this privileged, ritzy, white, rich bitch life, and then she's just been kind of
conditioned,
just grown up to treat African American people like this and the people around her so coldly. But even that, I still don't think that justifies her to be just this... I'm the racist person. Like it didn't stick for me like at all. And whenever she came up, I was like, oh, just fuck off. But like not for the reasons that I know the movie was wanting me to say fuck off to her for.
Right.
It was like
you just didn't buy it.
Fuck off. Like I'm not buying you at all for what you're putting down here.
Okay.
And yeah, as I said, nothing wrong with Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she is put her in a good role, and I think she would do absolutely swimmingly. But just this role and this writing, I think, is the primary issue.
Huh. Okay.
Very shortly after I put up my review on Letterboxd, there was another review that came up maybe like a couple days later, and it goes, 4 stars. Imagine saying Bryce Dallas Howard is not a good actress, ... Can't relate. And I was like, is that a swing at me? What's going on?
Kind of sounds like it, yeah.
Because I put the exact same thing in my review, was that nothing wrong with Bryce Dallas Howard's acting, just I think the writing was a bit... bleh.
Okay, I can get that. Then. I think you can say... Yeah, I think I can say I get where you're going with the character being very one-dimensional, but I very much enjoyed the way that character was acted. And I think that very one-dimensional character was played very convincingly.
And I think that's across the board for all of the lovely ladies and gentlemen on this cast, is that they do well with what they're given.
There really aren't many men on the cast, actually. There's
not. There's
Skeeter's
like
boyfriend
fellas
who turns out to be a douche, and there's
By the way, what the
Celia's...
sorry, jumping to that. What the fuck? That was so meaningless. He pops up and he's like, I'm the boy relationship, and they get together, and then you never see him, and then he comes back and he's like, we're breaking up. And it's like, what?
There's one or two other scenes with him in there, but I don't know. I'm wondering.
Yeah, there's like that scene where they're like watching the TV or whatever, and he kisses her on the cheek or some shit, and he fucks off, and then literally the next time you see him is him breaking up with her. It just seems so pointless. I was like, if you're gonna include him in that little amount of the film, just don't fucking have him.
Yeah, why even bother?
Yeah, just continue this trend of Skeeter going, I don't need a fucking man. Like, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen just Skeeter go, you know, like, fuck dudes, I don't need a man. And then Stuart keeps on, like, chasing after her tail or whatever, and then Skeeter's just like, oh, nah, I gotta write this book, so's for him. And, yeah, I would have loved that so much more. But then for them to... I don't know.
Think
it seems backwards to what Skeeter would normally do, I think.
I think maybe it kind of sort of acts as a bit of a characterization bit where he says, you've got to stop doing this, and she says, no, what? It's like more important that this gets done. So, yeah, I wonder if he had a bigger role to play in the book. I assume he had a much bigger role to play.
Again, yeah, it's just so many of my gripes feel like they're adaptation issues. Things that were, and as you said, there were things that were snipped. So maybe there were points where they were able to define Hilly Holbrook's character a bit more. Maybe there were moments that involved more of Stuart and Skeeter doing things, but, you know, just, yeah. But I think those two are actually my biggest gripes with the film.
She seems like a book antagonist. Totally. There's something about that
textbook antagonist
where like book antagonists, a book you spend a lot of time in the protagonist's head, and what you see of the antagonist is generally just what the protagonist perceives of them.
Is saying
they can get away with being, you know, you in a good book they have a bit more to them. But you can get away with having a very flat character because it's purely from this one level of perception. Whereas
protagonist perspective.
A film, you're kind of pulled back a little bit more. And that means that, the character is, yeah.
Yeah, as an audience member in a film, you're viewing through a window and you're kind of looking in at all of them. You're not just seeing Skeeter's perspective of it all.
I think
Sorry,
on the
I completely cut you off.
No, that's right. On the same vein of you kind of having these single-sided characters, I did very much feel that Skeeter's character was a bit too... She's basically like a 21st century Avatar. Like, you know, the way that she kind of carries herself and everything is pure the whole way through, you know? She always has the... Which when I was watching this with my fiance, she said it would have been a lot smarter for them to maybe make her make a mistake at some point.
Yeah.
Have something that even...
She seems a bit too perfect.
Yeah, she is. She's, for want of a better term, a bit of a Mary Sue. She never really does anything wrong. She, you know...
maybe I guess that's why they have the Stuart and Skeeter thing breaking up then, maybe? Is that like the... But even then, that's not her fault. She's still trying to do the good thing, so we can't fault her for that.
Yeah, so I think... and that's a big complaint that I've seen. It's almost like... And... It's hard to say.
She comes off a bit white saviour-y as well.
Yeah, that is exactly what I had written in my notes. It's hard to say whether you'd be better off going, okay, we need to 100% push the black women as the kind of the entire driving force of this story, or when you take into account this is largely going to be watched by white people, do you have this other character that kind of acts as a conduit between that? It's tough. I had some issues with that character, and a lot of people did from the critiques that I had a bit of a squiz at.
Gander.
So yeah, that, you know, I guess
I think it's so odd that a lot of the time, I think, with this film, it falls into the stereotypes that it's trying so hard to go, you know, these stereotypes are bad, but it also kind of falls into them a little bit as well. Like, there's, Minnie Jackson's character, which, by the way, I will say, we haven't really said anything nice about this film. Octavia Spencer's performance as Minnie Jackson.
Yep.
Fucking exquisite.
Excellent.
I love her in this role, and she wins an Academy Award for this role. Very well deserved. I think she's, absolutely phenomenal in this movie. Every single scene that she's in, she is, I think, as from an actor's perspective,
Eat my shit.
she is in control, she is in the moment, she is invested, and therefore you feel invested. She obviously has a very, very good understanding of the character and the objectives throughout. She did a really, really good job. But there's one of her, Minnie's sticks is that she loves cooking, right? She's a big chef.
Yep.
But she also really loves fried chicken.
Yep.
She has a line where she's like, I love fried chicken. And I'm like, that is the biggest black stereotype ever. And that it feels so disingenuous to like, I don't know. For me, that kind of hit me really weird. And I was like, but you're trying to get out of this, aren't you, film? Why are you reinforcing this?
It's weird how when you got a situation
Maybe I'm
like
the
that,
racist for picking up on that.
No. I definitely thought about it as well, but I'm like, is it more problematic to say, maybe 50 years ago? I don't know. I wasn't. Well, shit, like 60 years ago. I wonder how true the stereotypes were. Whether that was the thing where
was that reinforced at that time, or was it only something that's come into? Are
you reinforcing an unhealthy stereotype, or are you just being historically accurate? And like, what's the point at where you separate the two of those? I'm listening to myself, and it kind of sounds like I'm like doing that thing where like horrible bigoted people are like, well, I'm just asking questions, but like and it's just like it's like, what if the Jews really were bad? I'm just asking questions. But it's tough for I guess what I'm getting down to is that I don't fucking know. But I did pick up on these things, so I don't want to have a hard answer on these because I just haven't had enough time to like research them or work out whether basically, is it historical accuracy? Is it cementing a stereotype? Is it just like making a character that people find more relatable? At what level do you have to stop going like, we're going to keep getting smarter with this and, make a character that is like more progressive? So say she's like, oh, I love cooking, and she like cooks all this really weird stuff. Would you hit a level where people would stop believing that character? It's so.
And is the I love fried chicken thing to like reinforce her as a character, or is it?
Here's the thing, fried chicken, it's pretty good,
delicious.
I can definitely say that. But yeah, acting wise, I super loved, and I hope you picked up on this as well. All the actors did a really good job of the element of acting that is not fucking speaking to people. So there's a lot of stuff where
listening.
You pick up on it immediately with all the maids working in these houses putting on this very strong facade of loyalty or whatever to their employer, and just being the perfect little maid and doing everything that needs to be done. But you look at their faces and the way that they hold themselves, and they're just like, I want to rip your fucking throat out right now.
Throat out, yeah.
And that's played by both Viola and Octavia really, really well. And there's another thing my fiance picked up on was, and you can see it in a couple of the house party scenes, some of the characters, Hilly especially, will hold their breath as the maids, the black women, walk past. They're just completely in this character that just believes that black people are a different species and are dirty and have diseases and stuff like this. And I found that extremely convincing. So
totally.
So I guess like
I did not
writing
pick up on that. That is wow. Yeah.
Writing
that
aside,
makes me want to rewatch it and go, damn.
I'll send you a time code for the one bit that I'm talking about.
Yeah, definitely do it.
If you kind of don't think too hard about the way that these characters are written, and you just go like, this is the character they were made to play, and we're going to ignore whether that's good or bad the way that was written. I extremely liked the way those characters worked. And I think from a story point of view, having, and I guess kind of considering the audience this film is supposed to have, having an antagonist that's like super one note, 100% evil, kind of
100% racist.
100% racist. Yeah, I don't know. I liked the acting. I agree with you that the way the characters were written has some issues. And the other question is, how much of that is the book? How much of that could have been adjusted? How much of it couldn't have been adjusted?
Yeah. Is it just the way is that the way the source material is written, so there isn't really that much flexibility in it, or is there? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they had Catherine Stockett on board, so they totally could have added more bits in that she couldn't have squeezed into the book, which I do like when people do adaptations sometimes, where there are little gaps and things in their written material, and they kind of go, oh, well, we're adapting this to film. Maybe in the film, I can squeeze in this little detail or niche or something that I couldn't squeeze into the book. I really like it when authors do that whenever they're brought on board for the film adaptation, because then that gives meaning for the film adaptation to exist, as a form of media. If you're just redoing whatever it is that's in the book, may as well be a fucking audiobook, in my opinion.
It's just like a cash grab kind of thing, or it can feel that way.
Exactly, it makes no sense.
There's probably situations where a book is better suited to a visual format, like the story it's trying to tell is better suited to a visual format, but obviously most, any one idiot can write a book, but you need a lot of money and a lot of...
Takes a fucking army to make a movie, man.
Yeah,
it takes a goddamn army.
A bit of a big job. So, have you watched the Hitchhiker's Guide film?
Absolutely, I have. That is not my favorite movie, but it's like definitely up there. I really enjoy that movie.
You reminded me of that because there are a lot of people getting up in arms about that, but that's bad. I've forgotten the fucking writer's name. What's his name again?
Douglas
Adams.
That's it.
People get really shitty about that film and the way the story is presented, but the script was written by Douglas Adams. That was anyway. That not even related to what we're talking about. I just thought about it.
Yeah, no, as I said before, I think it's adaptation curse, and I think it's something that is really, really hard to get around. And I can imagine myself being in that kind of production setting and trying to put myself in their shoes and kind of go, right, we are adapting something here. This is a type of media that already exists and people already have a pre-established notion of what it is. And not only that, for this film, there is also a factual real life element to what is going on here. This is a fictional story set in real life circumstances, non-fictional circumstances. So not only do you have to portray these fictional characters, you also have to be wary of the setting that they're in and all of the knowledge that comes with the civil rights movement, what happened in the 60s in Jackson, Mississippi. And it just hit me then. I don't know why, but just touching on Mississippi, I think the accent work, fucking impeccable.
Yeah.
Whoever was their dialect coach must have done a really, really good job, because Emma Stone's accent is fucking brilliant in this movie.
It's really, really weird to just see Emma Stone and then see that voice come out of her mouth.
Like it's still her voice, but it's almost like it's been like post-production with like, pull this up here, pull that down here, and there you go, southern accent.
Just push the Countrify slider up we'll go about 85, 90 and see how that sounds.
You're just talking normally and then you're slowly starting to turn in.
I think the depiction of Jacksonville, Mississippi is in 1960 is extremely convincing.
Production design across the board is so good.
The sets are fucking incredible, and they're
gorgeous.
Just every little element is like, it's not. It doesn't seem like, hey, we found a piece of town that still looks pretty old, smartened the paint up, and put some old cars in there. It's like every little element is just fucking perfect. Every car on the road is a vintage car. All the signs are all redone. All the buildings are all fucking built from scratch.
The kitchen, all of the kitchen stuff, like the ovens.
Oh my god!
All of that stuff, like all of that looks fucking incredibly period accurate.
You say the kitchen, it reminds me of the fucking Crisco bit. Crisco.
I was like, is this an ad right now? That bit lasts for like a minute and a half. I was like,
I did a bit of reading on it, and I was interested in the machine. I forget what it's called now. The machine that she uses to curl her hair, which they make such a big deal about it. You're like, oh, that's got to be
a thing,
but it's not. It's just made up, and I think
made it up. Yeah,
between the book, the film, and one other piece of media it's been adapted to, I think they change the name or like the spelling of it every time. it's and I didn't find a hard answer on that.
Odd.
It was very, very strange. The Crisco bit is like, it goes on for so long, but then you're like, people were more dependent on hydrogenated fats back then. We don't really do it anymore.
I guess so.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that the best way to fry chicken? I don't really do it that much, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, maybe that is period accurate. I have no idea. But in that scene, Octavia Spencer is working with Jessica Chastain, and she is, without a doubt, my favorite thing about this movie.
Yeah, she's a delight.
She is relatable. She is, every time she comes on screen, I am immediately captivated by her. She is just, such a fucking light in this film.
I feel like she could have been a nice protagonist.
I think I said it in my review on Letterboxd. I was like, I wish they dedicated more screen time to Jessica Chastain and like her story, because she seemed, I'm not saying this because she's white or anything like that. I want to make that clear. But she seemed like a very interesting character, and I wanted to see more about her and, her interactions with Minnie and everything. But maybe there is no more to see than that, that she has miscarriage. She's had bloody 10 bajillion miscarriages. She's got a husband that, is very loving but doesn't know about any of it. And, maybe there is no more than that, but for what they give in the film, I was like, oh, give me more, because she is fucking gorgeous. The bit where she comes to the party and she's got the pie, and then she looks in through the window and sees her all hiding. I was like, oh, my love. Oh, my heart broke. And then she's that take where she's walking back to the car and she's like tearing up. I just want to give her a hug.
I think that she's not this one-dimensional character that Skeeter is. Shit goes bad for her, and she's starting from this place of, she's fucking white trash, basically. She's from somewhere even more flyover than Jackson, Mississippi. And, everyone despises her for it. She's having trouble. Yeah, I think that's entirely fair to say that she would be she's a more likable character, because she has flaws.
Yes,
and problems to deal with that aren't resolved in 3 minutes.
The course of she's kind of ditzy, and she's ditzy, but she still does know how to do things. Like the bit where she's got the chicken and she just like comes up. I was like, "What are you doing with the chicken, Celia? What are you doing?" And then she's fucking. It cuts away to Octavia watching through the window, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Fucking Celia knows how to do it. All right, like moments like that are like, okay, so Celia's not just insert dumb blonde character. She is genuinely intellectual. And the bit where, Minnie got beaten up by her husband, and I feel like if Celia were portrayed as this more ditzy kind of, I don't know anything type of blonde, then she wouldn't have picked up on that. But she is smart enough to recognize that, as she says in the film, like, I know you didn't fall over in the tub. And she's, I really loved her.
That was another thing. So you just reminded me. It was a big complaint from stuff I'd read, was the way that the kind of husbands are portrayed. Like, of the maid specifically, you've got an absent father and a abusive father, and it's just like, oh, could have done that one better.
Yeah.
I think
there's zero good father figure. Oh, well, I guess there is Celia's husband, because apparently he's very nice, and then he's very accepting of Minnie at the end. It's everything.
It's more of an issue with this kind of deadbeat black dad stereotype.
Yeah.
Which did not need to. I think you maybe.
What about Abelin's husband? Do we ever hear anything about Abelin's husband? I think he's
just absent. Maybe he's dead. I don't know.
I don't think we ever do actually hear anything.
No,
about
you don't. You don't hear anything about him. And
that open plot point, that would have been great. You could have had a little moment where, like, Abeline reflected on the husband and been like, "Oh, well, my husband was very good to me," and then we would have been like, "Well, okay then." Because then that would keep on track with Abeline's son, and him being very successful and everything and intellectual. That would have been on track, and that would have all neatly tied up and been made sense.
Last little character note I've got. Do you remember the editor from the newspaper?
The little short dude. Oh my god,
love that guy.
I wish he got more screen time. We have a movie about him at the Jackson Journal.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Spider-Man, but it's him playing fucking.
Was it
Jonah J. Jameson?
Jameson Warriors, yeah. Fucking incredible. Shut that damn door.
Shut the damn. Oh god.
Oh, so fucking good. And what was the other one? Fucking Hilly saying like, God don't give charity to those well and able. That's why, I mean, shit, that's not even like a good acting thing necessarily. I just like, that note was just like, that made that character for me. I was just like, holy shit, you're a bad person.
Yeah, that is a good writing bit that I will give for sure. That's the bit with Yul May, isn't it? That's the new maid that comes in to replace Minnie, right? And she asks them for money.
Oh,
and
yes.
The husband's like, gotta go.
He just like
I found that
steps up
very
and fucks
funny.
off. I did appreciate that. So, yeah, and they're like, I'll do whatever it
See
takes
what I
to
mean?
defend
Like,
our
there are
children
just
and
so many good things about this fucking movie, but there are equally so many things where I'm just like, oh, that I can't look past that. You know what I mean?
I think you mentioned before about ignoring the events at the time. And
The civil rights movement, yeah.
Yeah, I felt I didn't have a distinct issue with that. Because I didn't think...
I don't think it's an issue. I would have liked to... I went into this movie thinking that it would touch way more on the factual events of the civil rights movement. But instead, it kept in its own fictional little bubble while occasionally bouncing out to go, what? Civil rights movement is happening, and then bouncing back into its bubble. I would have appreciated it more if it did dive into that a bit more. But I don't know. That's not what this movie is about.
That was definitely something that kind of... it sort of punctuated the story and said, like, kind of reminded you what the stakes were and stuff. Like,
I was going to say, I think it's setting more than anything.
I think we're once again looking at this from Australians who weren't taught about this stuff in school.
Yeah.
Kind of viewpoint. I think if you lived in the States, I assume if they started going like, and this is what's happening in the civil rights movement, they flashed a bunch of
fucking check in with the civil rights movement. How we doing, Johnny? Well,
I think that would have taken it out a little bit. I think the character's reaction to the situation at hand was more important. I think most people who watch that film would have a pretty good understanding of what was going on in those news articles and whatever.
True.
And it kind of being a basis to keep the...
I think actually, that's a very good point. The targeted demographic of this probably would have prior knowledge to the civil rights movement and would understand what was happening in that period of time. So perhaps it doesn't need to hone in on the factual events so much because said targeted demographic probably already have enough knowledge and not necessarily experience, but just knowledge of what is happening in that period.
It would have been jarring.
That's a good point. To pull you out of this little fictional world, and kind of bounce out into fact. That's true. And again, I think that's, I came into this movie thinking it was going to be that. I was surprised to find that it was so based in fiction, and then, I think that's my fault for coming in with preconceived expectations. Who knows?
That does remind me of... Sorry, I'm trying to quietly have a drink here.
Have a little sip.
Scene...
I should have vamped for longer.
That's all right. I should have just not being stupid about it and just taken a swig and
have a drink. Just have a drink, man. Just we'll sit here. We'll listen to you have a drink. We'll wait.
Do you want to hear some mouth noises?
Welcome to the 250 ASMR section, where we sit here and drink water for 5 minutes.
The bit where they're on the bus, and Aibileen gets kicked off and she starts running.
Oh yeah, she's kind of dozing off in the bus, and
what was it? Henry, the other,
the bartender-ish kind of dude, the deli dude.
And he starts to. She says I think she says stay safe or something, but he's already just he's gone. He's just
bolting.
Fuck, I'm fucking out of here. I think that characterized that really well, and it was all kind of visually put on this dark, scary backdrop really well. I think the film doesn't do loads in terms of visuals, but what it does perfectly adequately.
There was I thought there was some really nice, the shot composition, a lot of their close-ups was really nice. And I think close-ups are very important in a drama film because you really do have to capture the intensity of the emotion of a lot of the characters. And I think just the framing of a lot of those conversational shots, the shots where it's Skeeter and Aibileen at Abileen's table and, they're having that dialogue between each other, and just very simple over-the-shoulder shot composition, while still keeping maybe the side of Skeeter's head in frame, that kind of thing. I thought, that was all done really nicely, and the most important thing, obviously, captures the actor's emotion and intention, and
which is kind of I think that's why we've ended up talking about the actors and the acting so much, is because this is such a, it's a pretty standard drama thing, but it's such an actor forward rather than story forward
or cinematography.
There's some
that's interesting, isn't it? There are definitely things in the 250 where it's this is the reason this movie is in the 250, whether it be cinematography, writing, acting, special effects, it could be anything. That's really cool. I haven't thought about it like that.
Yeah. And there's some other little cute things. There's a scene where I think it's after she publishes the book where is that? There's a scene where there's all it's all this kind of dawn, you can see through the windows, the rising sun, and everything's kind of a bit warm and orangey. There's your standard muted color during the flashback with Constantine type stuff. It's pretty standard stuff, but I found it pretty striking.
Yeah, and the lighting in the African American neighborhood is all kind of dim and dark, and it's they obviously don't have as many lights as the White Houses would. So yeah,
the
that's
white folk.
the White House.
And the other thing is, what did you hear much in the way of music?
I didn't. For me, the soundtrack wasn't as, it's very run-of-the-mill drama soundtrack for me. It was just kind of
emotional swells
music swells. Yeah, music swells when the film wants you to feel something and then tapers back off again. There was no track I went away humming or anything like that. So, or any particular piece of score where I was like, what the fuck is this? I need to listen to the soundtrack. It was just across the board. That's what it needs to do and gets the hell out.
Yeah, and I guess my last little thing is I did really appreciate the comedy that was in there. There wasn't loads of it, but I all found it pretty good. It didn't feel like a chore, this film.
It's enjoyable.
So I, as much as I had issues with it, I wasn't sitting there like checking my watch or anything. Which is kind of the big aim with a film, if you can get away with it. If the adults in the audience aren't just going like, what's
what's for dinner?
Should probably get that roast on, I reckon. What am I doing after this? That's a pretty good level of success, I think.
Kids need braces.
The kids need braces. That's so specific. Your kid walks in, you look at their teeth and you're like,
you're like, oh, fuck.
Oh.
And you look over at your wife and she looks at you like you're a fucking demon and oh, God.
So Douglas.
Yes, hello.
Do you have any trivia for us?
I do have some trivia for you. I found a couple of nice little tidbits of trivia about this film.
Trivs.
Jessica Chastain, who is a vegan, ate soy ice cream melted in the microwave to gain weight for the role of Celia Foot. I'm like, of all the ways for a vegan to put on weight, that is the most creative way. Huh?
She was eating chicken in the film. I guess she just sucked it up for that, but
yeah.
It's just so she could. Why not just eat the ice cream?
Or maybe melting it.
Meant she could eat more.
Yeah, I guess
go crazy with it. Let's start making some sundaes and stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Make some fucking banana
if you're gonna make a
splits and
sundae,
shit.
I was gonna say if you make a sundae, then you're gonna put fruit in it, and then that makes it healthy.
No, fruit's not like 100% healthy.
Not
it just
all
has good,
fruit, yeah, okay.
It's got a lot of sugar in it. It just also has a lot of nutrients and stuff.
Or fat, yeah. On the Graham Norton show, Bryce Dallas Howard said that she is mistaken for Jessica Chastain all the time. They both appear in this movie. And I gotta be real with you, if Jessica Chastain was wearing a brunette wig, I would be completely fucked for this film.
Yeah, no.
I would be like, wait, who does...
Fuck those fucking wigs, man. We didn't talk about that. But the hair they had on was insane.
It was like In the Mood for Love levels of hair.
Yeah.
But In the Mood for Love, they actually did it. Like, they did their hair.
And it also looks a lot classier in The Mood for Love. It looks extremely fucking tacky in this, which is the point. But
I was gonna say it's like what is it? Have you seen Hairspray?
I actually haven't.
It's very similar to that. I think it's 1960s as well, but it's all like, big hair. And yeah, purposefully looking grotesque, which
it's a fun vibe.
I think that was almost the thing in the 60s, right? It was to just make, for women anyway, was to just have these insane curls and pompadours and things like that.
Big shaped situation, yeah.
It's really cool. I like 1960s women's fashion. I think it's really cool. Katy Perry was almost cast in a quote-unquote small role, but had to turn the role down due to scheduling conflicts with the release of her album, Teenage Dream.
That would have been cool,
a bit polarizing.
Maybe.
For me.
It's kind of like, who was that was in Game of Thrones?
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran being in Game of Thrones, and that one was just like, they made such a big deal about it in the way that scene was shot. I'm like, what are we doing here? Come on, guys. Jeez.
Yeah. That's just Ed Sheeran's on set and they're like, oh, fuck it. Get him in costume and toss him on the set. Let's see what we can do.
and let's just put the camera on him at all fucking times.
All times. No one else
Because
gets to
he's-
say anything in this scene because Ed
Because
Sheeran's here.
he's a celebrity in this room full of actors. What the fuck?
Of already celebrities. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And he's a musician. I don't know. He could be an actor too. I don't know. I'm not gonna gatekeep you, Ed Sheeran. I'm sorry, baby. Director Tate Taylor and Catherine Stockett, the author of the book, were childhood friends in Jackson,
Oh.
Mississippi.
Cute.
So I
Oh,
really
they're
like
from
that.
Jackson. Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
they're both born and bred in Jackson. So obviously they know what they're talking about, which is that's good to hear. Although it is never mentioned in the movie how Eugenia got the name Skeeter, it is revealed in the book that when she was born, her thin, leggy appearance caused her older brother to remark that she looked like a mosquito.
Ah, right.
So I really wish
Get
they
behind that.
put that in the fucking movie, but I guess there was no time for that.
I didn't
The
have
film
any-
takes
that's
place
fine.
in Jackson, Mississippi. Oh shit! Okay. Remember in the intro when we said it takes place in 1962? It takes place in 1963. So
I feel like it takes place
you
over
go.
more than a year.
oh well, who knows? We were close enough. This is when and where civil rights activist Medgar Evers was assassinated, which I briefly touched on in the movie.
Oh, is that who that was? Okay.
Yes, real-life national news headlines of the assassination are used in the film at about an hour and 20 minutes into the film. So it's that bit where you were talking about where they get off the bus and bloody Harry, Henry, or whatever it is, starts booking it.
Yep.
That's in that scene, everyone's all riled up because Medgar Evers was assassinated by the KKK.
Right. How fucked is that they were like, a black dude has been assassinated. All the black people, you untrustworthy. Get off the bus.
Yeah, yeah.
We gotta save
right?
these white people.
Yeah, you fucking got. Oh, God, yeah.
Jeez.
It's so surreal to even think like that almost seems fiction. Like the
Yeah,
fact
it's-
almost seems fictional. Blech.
hell.
In the movie, Rachel is substantially older than Skeeter. Rachel is Constantine's daughter. When Constantine is moving out of her house, the growth marks on the door frame say Rachel 1944 and Skeeter 1955.
Oh.
So it was portrayed to be that, Rachel and Skeeter kind of like grew up pretty much side by side. But Rachel is a fair bit older.
That scene was fucking heartbreaking, by the way.
Yeah.
Where Constantine's
I
looking
really
at
like
the
Constantine.
marks. Oh my fucking god! I think I actually started crying there. That was fucked.
Because
It was
that's
really bad.
relatable as fuck, Pretty much every family has that somewhere in their house has that thing, where you mark off the height for, it's been a year, let's check how tall you are, Yeah, that's incredibly relatable. Bryce Dallas Howard was pregnant during filming,
Oh.
which you cannot tell at all, so I have no fucking
okay.
idea how they did that. I'm guessing it was a bit of a ScarJo kind of move, where they ScarJo was pregnant for, I think it was one of the Avengers, or maybe it was Winter Soldier.
If it's in the first couple months, you generally can't tell.
Yeah, and I guess maybe they just focused on her scenes first, so the scheduling was like, okay, let's get Bryce Dallas Howard's scenes fucking zip, zam, zoom, finish then, and then if she does get the baby bump, then we don't have to worry about it because we've got all her scenes filmed. Who knows?
The scenes with her pushing Skeeter around are a bit gutsy when you frame it like that.
Yeah. So, I can imagine being Emma Stone just be like, oh, I don't want to push you.
She's gonna push you lightly.
A little push. The source novel was on the New York Times bestseller list for 103 weeks, 6 of which were at number 1.
Jeez,
So that's a very long time on the bestseller list.
that's not bad.
Minnie was played by Octavia Spencer, who also provided narration for the audiobook adaptation. Spencer also played the role of Minnie in a radio play version broadcast on BBC Radio 4 in July of 2009.
Oh.
So as I said before, Octavia Spencer has prior knowledge and history with the character of Minnie, and yeah, that's where it's from. So I found that really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the fact that, obviously they were like, Catherine Stockett and Tate Taylor were both like, well, who are we casting for Minnie? And then they were just like, well, this chick has been playing her for like fucking 2 years and she's already looked into the character as far as she has. Just give it to her. You know, that's an easy cast. That's got to be great.
And she, like, you know, she already had the voice section of it all handled, but she...
exactly, yeah. Then it's just getting the acting section. But, like,
was delightful.
Oh, God.
That came out really well.
Yeah, I cannot floor her acting, like, at all.
God, I love this scene where she flushes the toilet and then she, like, knocks the thing over, and just the way that she's holding herself in there is just like, fuck yeah!
Fuck you, asshole. Like, yeah.
Fuck yes!
Terminator's fuck you, asshole. Minnie, come out of the bathroom. Possible response. Fuck you, asshole.
Fuck you, asshole.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
That's right.
As I said, it's just one of those movies where, and I feel like we're going to come across it a couple of times, where I'm just incredibly indecisive, and it's just so many pros, so many cons, and it's so hard to find that kind of steady middle ground of like, oh, I love this film, but I also don't like this film.
I think it's good that you're thinking about it, and I think it's good you're not just going like, racism is solved.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that this podcast is teaching me is that whenever I don't like a film, I'm not just going like, oh, I don't like that film, I'm not going to watch that film anymore. I'm like, okay, but why didn't I like this film? And I think that's really, really important. And that's something that I think a lot more, even just casual moviegoers should try and do, because it's a really important thing to figure out where your tastes and everything are. And if you just kind of go, oh yeah, I didn't like that movie, and then maybe a friend or something goes, why didn't you like that movie? And you go, I don't know, just the vibe. Like, what? That doesn't mean anything.
Stupid.
That doesn't give me anything to work with. It's dumb, and I didn't like it.
Dumb.
Like
that friend of mine who said they didn't like Annihilation because it had girls in it. I'll beat the shit out of you.
God.
Same shit. I've told the story before. Don't worry about it.
No, what have you told it on the podcast?
I don't remember. I feel
no,
like
tell it. Go on. Give us the goss.
I really liked Annihilation, and someone was like, "Oh,
I still haven't seen Annihilation."
They're like, "Oh, that film sucks." It's just like, I think they just called it some SJW stuff or something, and I'm like, it just has female actors in it. That's all it is. You're overthinking this, sir.
Wow. Fuck.
Good stuff. Well, wonderful. And on that note.
Yeah, on that note, we've covered sexism, we've covered racism, we're getting out of here, baby.
let's rotate around to a much less complicated film, shall we?
Send her off, Johnny.
That's
Fire
all,
out.
Folks.
No.
Oh yeah, shit.
We
need to do like after podcast stuff, don't we?
Yeah, please don't leave. We're still here.
So, if you enjoyed this, thanks.
That's really nice. Wow.
Yeah, you can keep up with us. We have email 250pod@gmail.com, twofivohpod@gmail.com. If you want to get in contact with us, that's the best way to. That's probably not the best way to do it, but if you want to talk about something more in depth, that's the best way to do it.
I think the email is a pretty good way to get in contact with us in terms of if you want to like send in like comments about the podcast or even just have a dialogue with us. I think email is a good way to go.
That's pretty good. We also have YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at 250pod, all one word. Instagram's probably the best out of that, but YouTube, you can watch the podcasts there. If that's more convenient for you, if you're doing it at work or something. Twitter is probably a better place to communicate with it. I don't know. We prefer Instagram. It works a bit better for kind of the way we're running all our social media. But there's all of them. If you prefer one service over the other,
just do what you feel. You know, you just gotta
see where your heart takes you.
Just see where your heart takes you. And baby, if it guides you over to another podcast platform, we got you. Because we're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Podcast Addict. We got your Pocket Casts. We got your Google Homes. and Jamison Echoes. So
Oh, that was an amazing segue. Holy shit.
just whatever you're feeling, baby. You want to listen to us on one of those? We got you covered.
It's basically everything. And I think that our service also gets mirrored by some other services. So just give it a look, I guess. If you're sitting here on YouTube and you're like, man, this sure is convenient to have to watch this as a video and then just listen to the audio. I agree. Whatever podcast service you use, just bloody use that.
That's just what you want.
Everyone's got Spotify.
Everyone's got their own personal choice.
Talking about personal choices, we have some
So,
personal
my
letterbox. We have our own personal letterboxed accounts where we put up reviews of the films we've been watching. A bit more, a bit quicker to digest form. My account is Upa. That is UUUPAH. That's 3 U's. And Douglas.
Mine is IENZOKNIGHT. That's the Enzo Knight with a K. I write up reasonably lengthy reviews, normally about 2 or 3 paragraphs, just covering on basically everything we cover here in the podcast, but in a much more condensed format. So acting and cinematography and things like that. And Jonathan over here writes haikus.
I actually need to catch up. I've fallen behind. I've been a bit busy.
That's all right. You'll be catched up. You'll be caught up, killer, by the time this podcast is out.
I did a bunch of research on like haiku structure and stuff. Like I said, I would a couple episodes ago, and there's like a whole thing about the seasons and only using certain words depending on the season of the haiku. It's very.
Are you gonna keep up with that?
I'm gonna try.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess it's kind of hard for... Because we're in... What are we in right now? We're in...
Spronger.
Sorry,
no, we're in autumn.
Autumn.
Someone just finished.
Autumn. Yeah, that's right. I would like that. I would like that. That's a good challenge for you.
But it's not necessarily you talk about things from
autumn.
It's just like the season... And I'm not even sure if it necessarily has to be talking about the season you're currently in. I think the season is kind of just like a theme or like a framing device. And then you use certain words or like concepts depending on that season.
Right.
Do you remember?
It kind of helps give it like a tone, I guess.
Yeah. Do you remember 4 or 5 episodes ago where I was like, I'm going to do an easy cop-out and start writing haikus?
What a dumb bitch baby move that was.
Yeah.
How you feeling now?
Overwhelmed. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for listening. We hope you had a good time. Send us some abuse, you know what? Yeah. Say some mean stuff.
Make it nasty.
Make
Leave a mark.
Leave. Jesus Christ. Break a bone.
Shatter my teeth.
Yeah. Watch this movie. It's fun. Or don't.
Yeah. Do what you want. Just do what you feel, man.
It's good in that it's kind of low expectation. It'll make you think a little bit, but not too much.
Low intensity, cool. like this outro.
I like this outro. We'll see you next time, fellas.
Bye. I love you.
Bye. Bye.
Why didn't you say it back?
Why didn't you say it back? I love you too, Douglas.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Unexpectedly wholesome ending.